Hey, St. Andrew's Youth Ministry. Jonathan here, checking in with you on Tuesday, September 8th, and welcome back to school for the majority of you. It's been so fun the last couple of weeks to meet together in our parking lot. And if you've missed it, don't worry. I want to catch you up a little bit on what we've been talking about. So we've been talking through a new conversation called Uncharted because, guys and gals, whether you know it or not, which you probably know it at this point because it's 2020 and it's September 8th, 2020, this year is absolutely uncharted. And what I think is so funny is back at the beginning of the year in January, pastors, leaders, people of pop culture everywhere dubbed 2020 the year of vision because of the pun of the play on the year 2020, if I need to spell it out for you. And so it was supposed to be the year of vision, the year of clarity, the year of purpose, the year of stepping into the real new you. It was about stepping into your new life. Vision. And in a way, albeit a way that no one could have predicted, that is exactly what has happened. We have stepped into a new year, a new vision, a new you, a new life. And we do have a new vision. We do have a new life, a new world that's awakened us around us. I mean, come on. How many of you were that worried about hand washing back in March based on the sale of hand soap? Probably not that many of us, spoiler alert. Along with hand sanitizer. I haven't bit my nails in 6 months. I mean, our world has changed around us. There was a run on toilet paper, run on sanitizer, run on Clorox wipes everywhere, but grocery stores were closed for a while, and that was crazy. Schools were canceled or still are meeting on Zoom. That's just strange and unheard of. I mean, sports vanished. Thankfully, they are back slowly but surely. Football is back with us. Hallelujah. We have to worry about masks now. There was a time where we were terrified of murder hornets coming from the West Coast, fire tornadoes, Dr. Pepper shortages, Saharan dust, even a show about a tiger king and a woman who may or may not have fed her husband to a tiger. I think the jury's still out on that one. But it's been a crazy, uncharted, unprecedented year. And even in the midst of all of this, racial tension has been put on grand display, probably like we've never seen it before. And so what we see now, what we find ourselves in, is the season of Uncharted. We are in uncharted territory. And regardless of who you are or where you're from or what you're encountering, you are in uncharted territory. Even if nothing in your life has changed or bad has happened, what you find yourself in is uncharted territory because students, friends, no one alive has ever lived in a global pandemic before. No one. And so it's absolutely uncharted. It's an area or place that is not on the map, that is yet to be explored. It's a way we've never been before. More importantly, it's a way that you have never been before. 2020 is uncharted, but that's life. It's uncharted. And one of the reasons why I get out of bed every morning, why I hang out with you all on Wednesday nights or Sunday nights when we get back to that rhythm, is because I love hanging out with you teenagers, with you students. And one of my favorite reasons why is that every year you encounter something new. Every year, as long as you're a good student and do your work, you get promoted, you advance to the next grade, and every year for you is uncharted. You have never been that way before. You've never been a sixth grader before, or a seventh grader, or a freshman, or a senior before. You've never been that before. And so you get to experience the new. And every now and again, you really enter uncharted waters. If you're a middle schooler watching this, your sixth grade year is unlike any other. Your freshman year as a high schooler is unlike any other. And so every year as a student, you enter uncharted water. I mean, maybe now for some of you, you're a freshman going to the giant school that's Wando, or you're transferring over to Lucy Beckham after going to Wando for a year, and you're one of the first students, whether a freshman or sophomore, to ever attend that brand new school. Or maybe you're a senior. And senior class of 2021, I'd love to tell you that life is going to be normal again. But we just don't know what life is going to look like again. I mean, you saw your previous class, the class of 2020, lose many of the milestones that demarcate a senior year. It bummed me out. I can only imagine how much it bummed out our students. And my hope and my prayer is that you get to experience many of those milestone markers that the class of 2020 didn't get to experience. But I can't promise you that. I can't tell you that's going to happen because it's uncharted. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or 6 months from now. And truthfully, we've always been that way. We've never been able to know what's going to happen 6 months from now or 6 minutes from now. But COVID, this pandemic, has just kind of shown us how real and tangible that actually is. And now, maybe in the midst of all this pandemic, racial tension talk, you still don't quite see the uncharted because maybe your life hasn't changed that much. But maybe some of you in the middle of all this uncharted territory, are going through your own uncharted experience. Maybe for some of you, your parents have announced they're getting divorced or they're separating. Maybe somebody in your family actually got COVID or got sick really bad. Maybe a loved one was diagnosed with cancer for a first time or a second time. Maybe in the midst of all this, one of your parents lost a job. All of this is uncharted. All of it is uncharted. And so that's why together as a community, last week we kicked off a conversation called Uncharted. And I got this idea of how important it was because as I was reading through the Bible on my own time, to my own devotions, I came across Joshua 3. And Joshua 3 says this for us. Before I go there, Joshua was the man who took over for Moses. Moses was a legend. If you don't know anything about Moses, go read Exodus and you'll learn all about Moses. Moses led the people out of Israel, out of Egypt when they were enslaved for 400 years. And he was the bright star, amazing leader, amazing man. He had his flaws, but like he's a legend of legends when it comes to leadership in the Bible. And Joshua is the man who's tasked with replacing him. Joshua is the man who was tasked with taking the people of Israel after Moses' leadership back home, back into their promised land after they wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years. And so their first goal was to cross a river, entering into the promised land. None of these people alive had ever been that way before. And so in Joshua 3, verse 4, we see this. God tells them this, do not come near it. This is the Ark of the Covenant that the priests, the religious leaders would use and walk in front of them. And they were supposed to follow the Ark of the Covenant. That way they know which way they should go because the priests were leading the way. And then there's this line at the end of Joshua 3 in verse 4. For you have not passed this way before. For you have not passed this way before. As we think about this uncharted life we find ourselves in, you have not gone this way before. You have not passed this way before. None of us have ever passed this way before. And so, in 2020, the start of the school year, we are talking about Uncharted. Why? Because neither you, nor I, nor your parents, nor your teachers, nor your friends, nor your siblings, nor your dog, nor your cat, nor your goldfish have ever passed this way before. So how do we live in the midst of this uncharted world? How do we live in the midst of this tension? How do we live in the midst of this chaos? Let's have that conversation. And this week, I'm excited that we're going to continue the conversation outside in the parking lot. And we're going to talk about, I think, a value that should dictate how we do this as we move forward. And that value is the idea of love one another. In the midst of all this unchartedness, in the midst of all this chaos that we find ourselves in, we need to love one another. So come Wednesday night, bring some friends. We'll hang out outside. Bring a Bible with you. Bring your own Bible. Bring a mask. Bring chairs. And bring some friends. Bring $3 for pizza. We're going to have some fun. We're going to hang out, celebrate the start of school, whether you were in person or online. And we're going to talk about Jesus and talk about how we can love one another well in the midst of this uncharted season. Grace and peace, students. Can't wait to see you Wednesday night.